Hello, runners and non-runners who think they should run but are too fat, slow, bored, unfit, unathletic, because this is a podcast for you. Well, it's for anybody, but particularly for people who don't think they can run but actually find out that they can. And it's called I Would Not, Could Not Run. We've done about 8 episodes now, and I'm joined with my erstwhile partner, as ever, the slightly faster, slightly lighter, slightly better looking Andrew Tudbury. Hi, Andrew.
Hello. Not lighter anymore, Oliver, I don't think. I think you're the same weight as me.
Well, I'm down at about 90. What are you at?
Oh, I thought you were a bit less than that. 85, 86.
Oh, I've never been that,
okay.
been that low. Well, I have been at some point, I suppose, and went through that axis at some point. But yeah, but
because you look
anyway,
so small.
Well, I've dropped 12k. It's now starting to make a difference in my speed as well, but more of that later. So you've been injured and stuff, so we might talk about injuries on this podcast. But how are you doing? How's your, I can't pronounce it, thing on the bottom of your foot going?
Oh, it's So I've got a sore patch on the bottom of my right foot, plantar pain, sometimes called fasciitis, plantar fasciitis. That's a horrible name. It describes an inflammation of the bottom of the sole of your foot, and it's just I'm struggling to shift it. It's been a month or so. Other than that, I'm still exercising. I'm running slowly and fairly short distances, and I'm cycling, which is a non-impact thing. Yeah. So if you have an injury that you don't want to irritate, then do something that doesn't irritate it.
It's
glad you bet.
It's known as a very. Are you going to tell people who I am, or shall I just stop speaking?
Oh, it's absolutely too late now. You've barged in and broken the formula. But this is it's very good you've done this. It's symptomatic of your anarchic comedy, Paul.
Oh my goodness!
Right?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, but I did think I could speak. You did say speak. You
definitely
got
do it.
To say about injury.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, I will actually. No, this is quite a good point to introduce Paul. So I was going to be a surprise. I got a massive build-up for him, and that's all on the cutting room floor now. But just to say, we're thrilled. We're trying to get a guest on every week at the moment, and I thought I might be able to get this man, who I used to do stand-up with about 5,000 years ago, and he's called Paul Tonkinson. I'm sure a lot of you will have heard of him, but he's an amazing runner as well as an amazing comedian as well. We'll talk about your podcast in a minute, and we'll talk about your books as well. But yeah, let us know about the injury. That might be.
I was just saying that plantar fasciitis is known as a very quite persistent, quite tricky, quite painful thing, and also quite difficult to get rid of once you've got it. I don't want to be the harbinger of doom here, but I'm saying it's quite painful. Quite painful to have. Are you having any treatment on it, or what?
I guess we were going to touch on this in a bit, but it's. I always try and treat myself up to a point, and then when I decide that what I'm trying to do isn't working, then I just say, okay, fine, let's go off and try and find a professional to help. So I'm probably at that point now.
Does it hurt when you run then? Does it hurt every time you run?
Yep. It's especially if I try and run hard, and so if I'm just plodding along, it's actually not too bad. But it's quite a tricky thing to treat, and I think the advice varies between, it's plantar fasciitis, well, you just need to stop running for 2 years and do nothing, versus a view that says that you should be exercising, strengthening exercising, because plantar fasciitis can itself be the result of a weakness in your foot muscles. And that's part of the problem, actually, that there's a lot of conflicting advice about it.
That's the thing about running, is that you're sort of like, each of us is like an experiment of one. Do you know what I mean? And some things work for others, and don't. And
absolutely, it's so true.
I mean, if when I'm injured, I try and I run a lot on to avoid injury. I run a lot on soft surfaces. I run very slowly a lot as well. But to me, it's quite a good sign if it doesn't hurt if you're running slowly. That's quite nice, isn't it?
Well, I'm aware of it, and it gradually builds up over the kilometres. So, it's a bit of, I don't want to go through all the well, there's things I've tried, but essentially a very slow 5K is okay. Once I go past into 6, 7K, then it starts to become painful. And then if I try fast 5K, then that starts to become quite painful. So, it's and it's really annoying because I've managed to shift everything else. But I mean, this is actually quite a good lesson actually to self. And I think I can sort of talk a bit more about this in a bit, but I think I did some things that caused this, and I just need to not do those things again.
I mean, I'm 56 now, and about sort of 4 or 5 years ago, I was constantly getting little calf injuries and just little injuries, and calves are quite persistent as well. They
can be.
Once a calf pings, it comes back, and I sort of prioritised running in a way so that my only goal of each day's run was sort of so that I could run the next day, kind of thing. I prioritised momentum over impact or quality, or do you know what I mean? I just and it was a bit of a mind shift. And since then, touch wood, I've been injury free. I just and I do little calf exercises and stuff. And I'm lucky. Definitely. I think there's loads of luck elements.
Well, I was going to say,
I run a lot of soft surfaces, but it's just that kind of train don't strain sort of element.
That is a good way of looking at it, because you're still making your progress, aren't you? And,
absolutely.
I mean, we've talked about this a lot. I have not had an injury yet. I've been running 18 months. I'll just touch wood there, literally. But it's going to happen, I'm sure. And I've got a first 10K with Andrew in 2 weeks, so I'm taking it easy, but building up the distances. But so that's my news.
You've got a 10K race in 2 weeks.
Yeah. God, can you believe it?
You're going to be towing me along, Oliver.
Oh God, absolutely not. I've gone up to 8, and it nearly effing killed me. 8K, and I'll do another 8K tomorrow. But Paul, we've got to talk about you, because the first thing, one of the first podcasts I listened to was Running Commentary, which is yours, with Rob Deering, who's another very, very funny and fine comedian. And it's you running, but chatting at the same time, which is, I mean, I do not talk when I'm running. Right, that's an absolute red line I will not cross. But you're chatting away, being funny whilst running. So that made me think, hang on a minute, Paul's probably pretty good. And then I know that you'd written the marathon book. 26.2 miles to happiness, but I didn't know you were going to write this new one about running in sand and stuff. But when I started the podcast with Andrew, when he finally got me into running, I thought, well, Paul's got to be on it. I mean, there's no doubt. So, I mean, what is your story? Because Andrew started about 7 years ago. 18 months ago. I suspect you've been doing it a hell of a lot longer than that. Well, but everyone's introduction to it is interesting. So what's your story?
Well, I ran a lot when I was a kid. So I ran a lot from the age of between about 12 and 17, sort of, for my school, for my county, for my club. I just got really into it. I mean, I was sort of, I was quite good at it. So I was like running like 50 miles a week when I was 16 and stuff, and like sometimes twice a day.
We've got someone who's good at running on. Thank God, Andrew.
Paul parachute.
We've got like angles on it. But I used to run cross country in the winter and track in the summer and half marathons and stuff. I used to run I did like a half marathon in like 78 minutes, and I did a 5K in 16:42.
What? Whoa, that's fast.
I was fast. I was obviously I was faster then than way faster then than I am now or will ever be. Do you know what I mean? I was just away. That's like another run in life. It's like another
life. It's like another. That's like beating a park run. That's winning a park run.
It's like another person. It's like another me. But obviously, it's sort of. And then, during my 20s I went to Manchester University and didn't run anymore. And then I did a bit of running in my mid 20s. Just I sort of popped back into it. And then around sort of about 36, 37, I started running again. I met Rob Deering. We used to go running and chatting. And this is a formula that a lot of people have. And then at some point, I thought, this would make a really good podcast. And then because chatting and running is really good fun, because I used to run and chat a lot when I was a kid, training and stuff. You'd go for a long Sunday run for like 15, 60 miles on a Sunday morning. There'd be like 8 people and you just talk. It was as much social as anything. You just talk all the way around. So I associate it with talking, because you don't run very fast. So you just run to chat, and meanwhile the miles go by, and it's it just helps, you know. And also there's something about running that sort of relaxes the mind as well. So if you reach a stage, you're at a very exciting stage now, both of you, and you're running, where you've got this big trajectory in front of you. You're only going to get better. I'm falling, and you guys, you might not feel like it, but you are ascending. You're ascending.
Yeah.
You're going to get fitter and stronger and run longer. I do hope. And it's going to be amazing. Yeah. It's going to be absolutely amazing. And you reach a stage where you run for about 40 minutes, and you'll just feel better, and you'll just fly through, and the chats then get really good. So really, we should start recording the podcast on 40 minutes, because the first 40 is fine, but after 40, it definitely gets to a better level. So that was the origin for the podcast, and then we just did lots of running, and it got back into events again. I joined a club, and I wrote the book 26.2 Miles, and that was about.
So was that about your preparations?
Paul, that was sort of. It was about my attempt to beat 3 hours for the marathon.
Okay.
Do you want to give us a spoiler alert?
Spoiler alert. I mean, it's weird. When I was a kid, because I was in like a club athlete in the early 80s, everyone beat 3 hours for the marathon. It was sort of embarrassing if you didn't. It wasn't even discussed. It was just assumed you would, because it was just a different culture then. It wasn't like, not many people ran, and the people who ran were all great.
Were serious, yeah.
So everybody ran 240, 250 marathons. 3 hours was sort of embarrassing. And then when I started running again, I realised how hard it was. Do you know what I mean? I realised how much I'd fallen and how hard this was. And it took me quite a while to get anywhere near it. So the book relates to my experience trying to beat it. And then it's sort of elements of memoir and things, and training preparation, and then the race itself. And I really enjoyed writing it. And it did fine. It was really good. I like writing books.
It did great.
I felt very lucky.
Telegraph Sports, but you're not going to say this because you're too modest, but winner of the Telegraph Sports Book of the Year in 2001.
Yeah, 2020. Yeah, 2020.
2021.
Yeah,
sorry.
Yeah. That was really good fun. I got to go to an award ceremony and win something, as opposed to nervously host it.
You'll be on the side for a change.
Yeah. And have your photo taken with a succession of boring grey men.
Yes, I got to be one of those men. So that was good fun. And now I'm writing another one. But but I'm getting slower. I mean, as I say, 56, I got the PB for the marathon when I was like 47. And trajectories change. You have different stages in your life as a runner. I'm at the stage now where I run because I really enjoy it. It makes me feel good.
So have you noticed that? I guess you've been running long enough to actually notice that you're getting slower. Now, I've been running 7 years, and I'm going to be 60 in August. So I'm a little bit older than you, but I haven't noticed that I'm slowing down yet, because I think I'm still improving my actual training. So the quality of my training has been outpacing my aging. If you see what I mean?
No, that's fantastic.
But at some point in the not too distant future, I'll notice that I can't do a 5K whatever anymore. I
think your relationship with your body changes. It's like when you're a kid and you're just thrashing yourself, you run as fast as you possibly can. You run as fast as your mind will push your body to do so. And as you get older, it's more of a negotiation. It's more like, what will my body stand? Do you know what I mean? It's like, is my calf going to go? My back's a bit stiff. When you're young, you're just at it. It's just, well, I was anyway. And I'm training less, and I'm getting older, so I'm going to get slower. If you can still train more and more, you're going to get faster. But it's a very simple relationship.
It does seem to be. And the more, up to a point, the more miles you do, the faster you get.
Absolutely, it's that simple, and that's quite a nice aspect of it. Actually, I mean, you guys have both come from the corporate world and all that, and sometimes, or in working life generally, or in life generally, sometimes you get what you deserve. Often you don't. Sometimes you're passed over for reasons that you can't really quantify. Blah blah. But in running, the relationship between effort and reward is very simple. As long as you don't get injured, the harder you train, the faster you're going to be. It's very There's no HR to go through. There's no promotion. There's no. Do you know what I mean?
It's so true. Yeah, and
That's absolutely true.
it's the simplicity which is very attractive.
Yeah,
And that's right, and the sort of predictability. You have your ups and downs, but then because I've just started running a little bit further for the 10K, and then my 5K times have just gone 90 seconds, have just been chopped off them.
Of course.
So I've had 3 PBs, and it's like you say, that's because the body is a miraculous thing. You say about the relationship with your body, it's so true. Because I was not abused my body, but I drank too much and I stayed out too late and I didn't do any exercise whatever.
We've all done that.
And now I'm basically, me and Andrew are the same person because I'm 60 next year as well.
Right.
I'm just like, no, this body is pretty amazing despite being rather average and a bit sort of doughy in places and a bit weedy in the limb section. But
it's
Jesus
incredibly
Christ,
adaptive. Yeah,
it's unbelievable. For 60 years we've been on the planet, and I can cut my 5K down from 38 minutes down to 31 minutes in 18 months. It's incredible.
It's incredible. And if you do, I don't suppose you do at the moment anything like sort of speed training or anything like that. But
I do actually.
I don't.
You do, Oliver.
I don't. But Andrew keeps talking about it. So to get your view,
once you do that, you'll get faster again. It's like you're at the stage now where, in terms of pure endurance, the more you run, the faster you're going to get at all distances. And then you reach a stage where, can I do a bit of speed running or whatever, a bit of long intervals or whatever it is, and then you get faster again. So that's what I mean about the trajectory. You're actually at a very exciting stage.
Yeah.
Do you subscribe to any of the running science stuff, Paul? So I remember I started running 7 years ago, and I spent the 4 years just running as fast as I could and not having a clue what I was doing. Right. And then I came to realise that there was actually running science and things you could read and things you could do. And I remember reading the Phil Maffetone's stuff about slow running, and then I read 80-20 running and a few other things. But that was like a revelation that you didn't just run 5K until blood came out.
I think I was sort of, because of my background as a runner,
you just knew that stuff. Probably,
it's sort of inculcated in me. So you run like you'd run easy on Monday, then you do like a track session on Tuesday, then you run easy on Wednesday, then you do hills on Thursday, then you'd have a rest on Friday, then you'd race on Saturday, long run Sunday, and you just do that all year. You just do that all year round. Do you know what I mean? So, and you do more track stuff at the track season and more hills cross country season, and do you know periodization stuff.
I'm sort of nodding, but I thinking of that as your life. I just wish so much that I discovered this so much longer ago, and school hadn't taught me that running was a punishment.
It's weird. Well, I think for a lot of time running was framed as a punishment at school, but I was just able to do it. So I was the kid. You were the fast kid. I was the kid at the head of the cross country race. Do you know what I mean? I just used to love it. I just absolutely love it, and those feelings of like, sort of power and control and fluid energy and stuff are so intoxicating. It's hard to let go of. Do you know what I mean? It's just such a beautiful feeling to be running, and you can get glimpses of it at every stage of running. You'll just feel.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt you, Paul. That's exactly what I was going to say. So you've obviously, and you're too modest, but you're a talented runner. So you had the talent right at the beginning. But that stuff that you talk about, right? You just ran and you just feel good, and you feel the power and the fluidity and the control. Even I, after 18 months, as a very unfit, overweight, a spindly limbed fellow, have had periods of that.
Absolutely.
Right. And you will. And it's very, very odd for me, who's never been very good at sport, to have that feeling. And I would absolutely say to anybody who was like me, who hadn't had that strange feeling of, oh my God, I'm an athlete, try it, because you will. Because as we said before in the Born to Run book that Andrew got me into as well, that's what we're built for. Our bodies are built to run for long distances.
We're built to move. I mean, it's weird. It's like we think we're built for comfort, but we're not. And if we get too much of it, we get really bored and just create loads of problems for ourselves. And
depression, I think, lack of doing something. The body and the mind goes, oh, we can close down now. We've got pizza on delivery, and my mind doesn't need to work, so I'll slow down, and then your motivation goes. And I think a lot of depression is coming from boredom.
Absolutely,
I absolutely do.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I did. It's what I've obviously been writing about, because I've been working on this book for about 4 or 5 months. But I did the Marathon des Sables, and which is a 250-kilometer run over like 7 days in the desert. You have a day off in the middle.
Just stupid. No
but
offense.
it's a run walk. It's you don't run all the way. There's a lot.
It's still ridiculous.
It's crazy. But it's really good fun. But the point.
I think I've heard of that one actually. Yeah, that's it's quite out there.
It's an extreme. It's weird. It's seen as an extreme experience, but there's a lot of quite normal people to do it. It's undoubtedly odd. But I really enjoyed the simplicity of the days, which is what we talk about movement. Because you get up on a morning, normally quite early, have a bit of food. You had to carry all your own food, so it's like powdered porridge and stuff, not very nice. And then you'd run and walk for like 6 or 7 hours, and then you'd rest, and then you'd eat, and then you'd sleep, and then the next day you do exactly the same thing. And I'm telling you, it was fab. It was absolutely fab. You felt great.
I think there's a message there that maybe life has just got too complicated.
Yeah, I mean, one of them was like you're not on the phones anymore, so you've got that. So you've got the pleasure of disengagement from Twitter rows or rage bait, whatever. And there's just something really fun about movement, that much movement, and the simplicity of it, and getting up with the sun and going to sleep when the sun sets, and all this sort of stuff.
And the landscapes and the beauty, I imagine, of it as well.
The beauty, but it's sort of like, and also something undeniably attractive about taking on more than you think you can do and doing it. I mean, you're starting, Oliver's starting a journey, and you're a bit longer into it, but hopefully at some stage you'll attempt a marathon. I'm
not too sure about a marathon. But then I've been saying that for years. I did a few half marathons this year. I did the London Landmarks half marathon with my wife, and that was an unbelievable experience. And we got cheered around the whole thing. We did it 2.5 hours. It wasn't a fast time, but we just bounced around and had great fun. I was thinking, well, hang on a minute, that was actually pretty easy. So. I'm starting to revise my view, but maybe marathon might be possible.
I mean, I just think if you can, it's almost like everyone's got a novel in them. It's almost like everyone's sort of got a marathon in them, and it's really hard. But I just think you'll gain a lot out of it. I always envy people their first marathon because it's such a epic experience. And like Oliver was saying, you can experience feelings of flow and fluidity and stuff. A marathon's a very private experience played out in public. So you're going through all this, pain and everyone's going, come on. And there's something very cathartic and moving about it from the people observing and you experiencing it.
Yes.
It's an incredible experience. And I just think it's just that it comes back to that sort of challenge thing. It's just nice to take on hard things and do them.
Well, almost starting running at all is the hardest thing for people who've certainly people who've never run. Just making that step and putting on the shorts are slightly too tight and all of that stuff, and thinking you're being looked at and everything that goes along with it. And that's an enormous step. And then almost if I'm running half marathons and 3 10Ks a week, then you can look at the logic and say, well, a marathon isn't far off for me, really.
No, all you need to do with that is just increase your weekly long run. That's all you need to do. That's what you just need to do. You need to run long once a week and just raise that by 1 mile, 2 miles every couple of weeks, whatever, and get some long runs in. But starting running, I always think, you guys know more because you started running fairly recently, but I always advise people to just get decent trainers and run on grass, and don't time it. Just walk and run and just try and get a connection with your body. Just don't overthink it. But I know Couch to 5K sounds fantastic. It sounds incredible. So I'm not encroaching on that. But I just think that you're just trying to get a relationship with your body and movement, not force it that much. Just run. And, if you feel tired, just walk a bit and just get used to it. Because I know it's quite an unusual thing for a lot of people who haven't moved in years. But you start to find the pleasure. You start to feel the pleasure in movement.
Sure.
Yeah, you also get Couch to 5K is brilliant, but what you say is so relevant as well. Is that because I'm into timing and numbers and graphs, and am I getting better? I'm not getting better. Is it worth it? But looking back on my Couch to 5K, there were periods where I'm running This is weird. My body is moving in a funny way. I'm approaching 60, and should I be running? But hang on. I mean, I am. I'm actually running, and there's movement, and the world is moving around me at a pace that is natural. And the birds are sort of flying by, and I'm noticing stuff. I don't think I've got into the Zen bit yet, but I got little flashes of it straight away as soon as I started, which is very not particularly. I do have one question, Paul. I just thought of. You were talking about, again, it's mind over matter, and I do the park run, and again, that's a great social.
Yeah, I think park run's amazing.
It's absolutely
park run's
incredible.
Fantastic.
It's just the best thing, as the linking to the community and people who wouldn't ever talk to each other, and everyone who runs past me, and there are many, will just go, "Well run, mate." It's just absolutely wonderful. The Great Lines Park Run is one I do. But you're saying about your mind, because I'm now upping the distances, and I'm really putting an effort in, and I'm approaching 60, and like you say, when you're young, you just go, "Way, brilliant! I'm running!" Because you're unbreakable, pretty much unbreakable. If you haven't got a congenital heart problem, you are unbreakable at that age. But we are breakable, utterly breakable. And Andrew is evidence of that. So how far do you push yourself when you think, I would quite like to stop? Do you push yourself to the point of real discomfort, or do you really take into account the fact that you talking about injuries, are starting to get a risk of injuries? Because I hate walking. I just feel like I should keep
agree.
going.
I mean, I think it's all relative to where your fitness is. I mean, I don't take on anything that I don't think I can do, really. So, like a few weeks ago, I did the York Marathon, and I did a few long runs for that. Not as many as I should. I did some 15 miles, and I did one 20 miler. And then I ran York, and I just sort of, obviously, if I feel anything mechanically is wrong, any pain, then I'd sort of almost stop almost immediately, because that's just a sign, isn't it? But in terms of tiredness, if I'm really tired, I'll walk up a hill or something. I've reached that stage in my running where I just like, if this is hard, I'm just going to walk up a hill. But if I'm training for a race, then I'll try and run up it.
I had that thing with the running, with the walk-run thing, which is where Couch 5K really helped me. And I think we might have touched on this in other episodes. But I had this thing about if you walked, it was cheating, and therefore when I started running, I just tried to run for 3 miles and ended up stopping and having to walk, and felt horrendous. Tried that 3 or 4 times and then gave up. And I think I probably did that in my 20s, and then maybe again in my 30s, and then that was it. I gave up. And it wasn't until Couch to 5K came along and then just gave me permission to walk that that broke that particular little issue that I had. Stupid thing, really, to get tied up on. I think, but there we are.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to, in terms of discomfort, I will be tired and keep running for an awful long way. That's really because I'm experienced in doing that. And also, if you're training for a marathon, that's what a marathon is. A marathon is guaranteed suffering and discomfort. I mean, that's the whole game. Do you know what I mean? So you got to train for that. Do you know what I mean? If you stopped every time you're tired, you just wouldn't be able to do it. And you're sort of doing that a little bit yourself as you run longer. You're just getting used to a bit of discomfort and not getting freaked out by discomfort.
Yeah, that's that.
You can spend a lot of energy fighting discomfort. So you get a different relationship with feeling a bit tired when you're running, relaxing it. Your form changes. You find ways. You just find ways through it. But I don't want to finish a session feeling broken. I don't do that. I mean, I used to run with some guys at Toronto. I talk about it in my first book when I was training for the sub 3, and we do track sessions. And one guy I was running with, they really thrashed themselves. One guy I was running with lost his sight temporarily. He just couldn't see anymore.
That's a blackout.
I mean, so these guys, they really push themselves. I'm nowhere near that. Do you know what I mean? It's like
my brother always used to throw up, which I thought was extreme. But blindness.
Yeah. I've never really thrown up. I don't actually know where. When I ran the sub 3 marathon, I managed to just beat 3 hours, plot spoiler. And and when I had a bit of a massage afterwards, and the guy said, "Oh, your legs are okay. Actually, you could have run a bit harder." It's just like I don't really know to what extent. I'm not. There's always pain and stuff, but I don't really know how good I am at all that stuff. Really.
You probably have some just natural adaptations from your life as a runner.
Yeah, I think
Paul. So kicking in later as a marathon runner. Your body apparently remembers your exercise. It doesn't disappear.
You've got sense memory, haven't you? You've got certain, because I used to play a lot of football, so if I start playing football, I can click into that. But I think that period of time in your life between about 8 and 15 is quite important, isn't it? In terms of activities, like I used to play loads of tennis. I was very sporty. So there's a certain extent that doesn't leave you.
It doesn't.
You know what I mean?
I understand.
You remember it. Something inside your body remembers that.
This is another thing about parkrun, isn't it? I mean, you're very sporty. I'm not, and yet we're all part of this community when we go up onto Great Lions in Gillingham. There's encouragement, and there's like I said, it's so when you overtake someone, they go, "Well done, mate." It's just like, what? That's so lovely. Yeah. And you're seeing athletes who are pretty good, who can do nearly as fast as you did when you were a youth. And then you see people who are just starting out and they're just going really slowly, and you think, good luck to them. It's just a wonderful thing. We can't.
Can I ask you, Paul, just what if you've got any plans for any other crazy ultra runs or anything, or you got any goals that you're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I mean, we're doing a coast to coast next year, which is the Wainwright Challenge. Which Rob knows more about than me, because he's the one who tends to sort of prod me into doing these things.
Is that the Whitehaven one?
It's the one from the. It ends up in Robin Hood's Bay, I think.
Yeah, Whitehaven to Robin Hood's Bay. Yeah, I bought that.
Yeah. So we're going to do that in about a week or so. We want to do it fairly quickly. So that'll be. That's going to be quite tricky. And then I'll probably run a marathon. I tend to run New York Marathon every year. It's weird because you do these things, these really hard things, and they really help you. Obviously, physically, it's good fun to be that fit, but also you go through something mentally that feels quite useful as well. And it's nice to it's nice to go back to the well and do it again. Do you know what I mean? It's not a one-off experience. I don't do loads of marathons. You get guys who do 4 or 5 a year. I tend to do 1 a year, just because there's something like going through it that just sort of, there's a bit of a purging going on. There's a bit of a sort of, there's something really nice about it. You feel really relaxed about it afterwards. About your life generally. There's a kind of post-marathon bubble. So it's nice to just sort of revisit that. But you'll get that after your 10Ks. There's something very peaceful at the end of really hard effort.
Oh, sure, yeah, it's very peaceful, and
sort of beyond caring. There's something quite nice. So, can you hear my dog? Shall I get rid of it?
Yeah, it's all right. I think
could be part of the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. If I'd have had this chat with you, Paul, 2 years ago, I'd have been fascinated, but I wouldn't have been able to relate to anything that you've just said. It would be like, that doesn't sound right. Paul, you must be into hypnosis or yoga or something to be able to understand like this. I would not have believed that it was possible for someone non-athletic to get into that zone. But so anyone listening who hasn't, believe me, it's possible as a non-naturally gifted athlete to get into those spaces as well.
That's a great thing about running is the relative nature of it, isn't it? It's like, it's not about being a really fast runner. It's about Billy.
Shut it. Yeah.
Hang on a bit.
I've got no control over.
I don't know. It seems.
Well, she's gone quite now momentarily, but my daughter's ill upstairs, so there's no. My wife's going to be home from work, and it's always quite a tricky period when she comes back from work. That re-entry. Do you know what I mean? If everything's not tidy, there's a problem. But I've tidied.
Good man.
But yeah, it's a relative experience, isn't it, running? But we've all got, just like comics intrinsically understand other comics, like world-class comics have got a lot in common with an open mic spot, because they've had the same experience. They know what it's like to storm, most of them, and they know what it's like to die, and that memory never leaves you, There's a kinship. I think there's a thing with runners as well. It doesn't really matter what pace you're at. We're all start off, we're all facing the same direction, and we all run the same course. Right. And there's just something so beautiful about that. Everyone who runs is a runner. There's something great about it.
And an inexperienced comic storming is you pat them on the back, and that's a wonderful thing. I mean, you're a bit jealous if you've got to follow them, if you've got to follow him. But yeah. No, you're absolutely right. It's like that.
And I often find the people who are the best runners tend to be quite gentle characters, actually. Like the guys at the club who are just like really fast guys, they tend to be quite gentle and assuming guys, because running gets rid of all their anger and sort of ego stuff. And I don't know, they're just really quite chilled out guys, like really gentle civil servants or something. And then you get them on the track. And
yeah, absolute vicious.
The killer instinct comes out then. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
It helps you deal with a lot of stuff,
Well, I've got a feeling we've got to Andrew. We've got to let him get back to his dog, I think, and the final preparations before Mrs. Tonkinson enters the house, just so that you're absolutely prepared. But that was absolutely great. It was just exactly what we needed.
Good.
Someone with a history of running to say, mostly you're doing the right thing, mostly, and also these are the benefits that you'll feel. And I really like this thing that you told us, that we're like still going up the curve.
Oh no, it's
so
amazing.
We've still got some
joy
to come.
This is the best years. These are the best times.
These are golden times. And yet, yes, so honestly, well, the podcast is Running Commentary with Rob Deering. The books, because there's the desert one coming out. It's called Running Through Sand, I think.
Yeah, Running Through Sand. There's a subtitle, but that's coming out next April, and 26.2 miles is out already. So yeah.
And that's a biggie. Award-winning sports entertainment book of the year as well. As well. Andrew, I don't know if you have any final words for our fabulous guest.
Very inspirational, Paul. Lovely to meet you, and best of luck with your future running.
Yeah, and good luck with your plantar fasciitis.
Oh yes, thank you.
Oh yeah, that. Cheers, Paul. I'll see you soon, mate. Well, that was Paul Tonkinson. What a fella. Hey, Andrew.
Incredible, and quite inspirational as well, actually.
He was one of those runners, and they're a lot like that. He says they're mellow fellows, and he's one of them. They just want you to do well as well and enjoy the way they do, and he's one of those.
And somebody who's been a lifelong runner, and I just don't know so many of those, and it's incredible to hear a very different story to our stories of starting running in our twilight years.
Yeah, and yet some commonalities and some things to look forward to as well. So great. I didn't know he'd been a lifetime runner. Obviously, I've known him for years, but I didn't know that bit about him. And I knew the book as well. Well, go to his podcast, read the book, etc. So we touched quite a bit on aches and pains and injuries. And I know you've been suffering lately, and I haven't suffered from a bad injury or even any injury since I started running. So I'm being very, very, very careful. I'm not taking anything for granted. But you wanted to do a little bit about this. I think it's a great idea. Talk about, in your notes it says ACEs, pains and injuries, which is
okay.
Is that Freudian? So yeah, tell us a little bit about your story. Like I say, I've had the odd twinge in my calf, a twinge in my ankle, twinge in my thigh, and then sort of run it off and it's faded, and I feel like either I'm superhuman or I'm doing the right things. But you've had a lot more years experience and some slightly more serious things, right?
Yeah, sure. And I think, as I probably said in previous episodes, I've been running for about 7 years, and I've had a few aches and strains, and some of those are sort of materialised into minor injuries. Nothing particularly serious. I've had a few calf strains. I've had an issue with my glutes, or arse muscles, as the medical profession would call them. And I've got this pain in my foot, which is also called a plantar pain, which I'm sort of recovering from now. It's a frustrating injury. I now know that can hang around for a bit, so I'm sort of working on that. But I guess I think all of the news about running is pretty much amazing, but that's not to say that there are not aches and pains, and there are sometimes aches and pains that turn into injuries. So I think it's worth just sort of circling round on this, and not as medical professionals, because we're not offering medical advice, but we are lay people, lay runners, and I think we are all custodians of our bodies, I think, and therefore I think we should have some awareness of legitimate aches, injury pains, how to avoid and recover from minor injuries as best you can as a lay runner, and then how to run with as strong and fast with as least pain as possible. Really,
beautifully said. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
So just the other point on that was I think I've done something a bit silly here. I think it's what's happened. So I've
Tell us all about it,
this
Andrew. It's fine.
this
It's safe space.
yeah. So this is the confessional. So fairly mature 7 years experienced runners can do a few things which maybe end up causing a problem. I think this is what I've done. So with this sore sole of my right foot. So this year I started running high intensity track sessions, which is brilliant. Nothing wrong with that. And then my running schedule sort of backed right off for a few weeks during the summer holidays with family and COVID and stuff like that. And then I just bounced straight back into my full running schedule, with nary any kind of break of any kind. And I just promptly got a calf strain as I was running down to the track. And so my calf was a bit sore, and I thought that's a little bit annoying. So I kind of rested it for 2 or 3 days and thought that's fine. And then I got back on the running again, and I was running with this slightly sore calf. It wasn't that bad, but that caused me to come off my forefoot onto my heels, and I was running on my heels a bit which I don't normally do. I'm also running in running shoes which are they're very far from being barefoot beach shoes, but they are zero drop is the terminology. So they are sort of shoes with less support. They're not fantastic if you're running on your heels. And I think that's started to bash my heels. I then didn't stop and I kept going. And I think those three things have caused this plantar, this inflammation in the sole of my foot to develop. So I think the lesson of this is powering on through, can have its issues, so you just need to be really careful.
It's tricky, isn't it? Because sometimes I felt a little twinge of something and then carried on running for a kilometre or two, and it just disappears because it's just a sort of passing piece of tension. So there seems to be a knack which you are developing, and I hope to develop, to sort of understand when something's a twinge and your body's going, "Ooh, keep an eye on that," and when your body's going, "Can you please stop? I'm injured here." Are you finding it easy to find that line?
I kind of always have, I think. And I think we all have an innate idea about this. And I think that idea gets finessed and refined the longer we run. But I think from what I've now understand, obviously pain is the warning sign. So whether it starts as a slight discomfort and grows or comes on instantly, there's the sort of pain which you sort of know is something which you can ignore up to a point, but if it becomes very severe, then that's something that you need to act on quite quickly and stop. So I've got a rule of thumb which I have checked, and apparently it's actually a pretty good rule of thumb, and it's quite widely used. So the rule of thumb is if you have a sudden pain, a severe pain, then obviously just stop. That's a no-brainer. If you need to alter your running gait or your running style, e.g. limp, and for more than about a minute or for more than a few hundred meters, depending on the pain, then that is also a cue that your body is telling you something and you need to stop and walk for a bit and then check the sore patch for perhaps injury versus cramp and just have a think about what's really going on. So I think the general advice is just do not run through moderate to worsening pain, and be strict with yourself, especially if you're a bit task driven and a bit power on mentality like me with running. Then just be aware that's how you tend to be, and you just need to stop and take stock of the situation.
No, that's all good advice. I like that. The thing is, if it's really bad, you'll know as well. But you what did you say? The custodian of your body. I think that's absolutely right. Of course we are, particularly as we get older. So as we keep on going on about,
you don't want to just run off to your GP every 5 minutes with, I've got a headache. Well, just take some aspirin. Really. So,
yeah, completely agree. I love this bit you put in the notes about normal pain and abnormal pain. And I think we all probably draw our lines there about what that is. But I found it actually quite useful.
Well, we could talk. We could talk a little bit about that. It's just about a guide. It's like a mental guide to understanding what is normal pain, normal suffering, and what is abnormal pain, abnormal suffering. And then there's something else which sort of straddles the two, which is the feeling of cramp. So normal pain is a physiological response to exercise, which is to do with your body adapting to exercise and becoming stronger. And that's a completely normal thing. And the signs are that it tends to appear after the exercise event itself. And some people give it a name, DOMS. You may hear DOMS on YouTube. So delayed onset muscle soreness. And it has a tight, dull feeling. It's relatively slow to come on. It tends not to be asymmetrical or one-sided, and it tends to improve after stopping. So abnormal pain.
Just on that, sorry, on the normal pain, there's this thing, isn't there, about you, if you're getting strong, your muscles are getting stronger, particularly with people who do weight training and stuff. There's a sort of slight tears in the muscle,
micro tears, yeah. So as I understand it again, that is normal. That's a normal sign of adaptations and getting stronger. And actual muscle fibers reforming, and you can be developing more slow twitch muscle fibers or fast twitch muscle fibers, depending on what you're doing, endurance running or sprinting. So your body's constantly adapting to the exercise that you are, asking it to do, whether it's swimming or, running a marathon or, running the 100 meters, essentially. They're all different muscles involved.
Anyway, sorry, I interrupted you. Abnormal pain. This is where it gets fun.
So that's abnormal pain. The medical people would call it pathological, which is a disease process, which is a response to actual damage. Tends to occur during exercise with running. It can feel sharp and be more sudden onset. Tends to be one-sided because you don't normally run on both feet at the same time, so it tends to be asymmetrical. And when you stop and you start to sort of massage or palpate the area, it tends to not go. So that's abnormal pain. And then cramp tends to straddle both of these because you can get cramps with injuries and also with normal pain, apparently. But I mean, most of us are used to cramp, so it's not something that's so easy to describe. But I think it's a tight, recognisable, not like grip. Usually resolves on stopping and stretching, and you can usually do something like walk it off. So it's worth bearing in mind that there are these these different categories of pain, and it's the abnormal pathological pain which you need to be aware of.
Yeah, no, I think that's really useful. And I think we're not doctors. All our advice is just what we've learnt from ourselves and mostly Andrew's reading. If in doubt, stop doing what you're doing and go and see a doctor, obviously. But some of those things that,
Yeah, but running does involve pain or a level of suffering and and part of becoming a runner is learning to become used to those feelings. And there's a feeling of being slightly out of breath. There's a feeling maybe of being slightly underwater when you're running. And then you learn that that's actually fine. That's okay. And it's a feeling that you can acclimatise to, which is aside from, spraining your ankle, which is a very different sort of pain.
Yeah, I think it's going to be relatively easier going forward to make that distinction. So, what do you do? So, like I say, I've had the odd twinge, and what I've done is just run very gently, and they disappear because they're what you would classify as normal pain. Haven't had a cramp yet, but you've obviously gone into that abnormal pain. What's your advice for taking action? What do you do?
So if I've got a pain that's been hanging around for a few days, and certainly hanging around across runs, then I will start to just assume that could be an injury. And I know that if I ignore that and just keep pounding away, then that's going to make things worse. So I guess the first thing to do is to work out what the most likely cause is. And it might be obvious. So if you've had a stumble over a route on a trail, or you've jarred something, that's obvious. Or if it's a flare-up of an old familiar injury, that's obvious too. Or it might be something new where the cause isn't obvious, so in which case you just need to move on. But for me, which is also interesting, is usually because I've changed something, and I'm a terrible fiddler with yeah, computers
Tinkerer.
and tinkerer, including myself, machines and myself. So I mess around with things and change things, and whenever I've had injury, it's often because I've changed something. So either I've changed my training load, which is to do with how much volume I'm running or the intensity that I'm running at too quickly, and my body is reacting to that, saying that's too much, and I'm not being aware enough of that. Or I've changed something about how I run, which is called running form or running technique. And that has maybe caused some muscle overuse or muscle overload, and again I've not been aware of it enough, and it's starting to err into injury. I mean, it's worth remembering that even with our best endeavours, our best attempts to make positive changes, they can have negative impacts. So, just doing too much too soon because you just want to get better too quickly, or you want to run in a different way because you've seen a YouTube video about running on your hands and that just seems amazing. So you want to have a go with that. But you just need to be careful to take these things gently and to do the appropriate exercises. In fact, we've talked a lot about Born to Run books, and a couple of years ago I read the Born to Run books, and I changed my gait to a more forefoot style run, and that was great in some senses. So I've had a trouble with my rear muscles, shall we say, in various periods, and that did improve. My butt muscles just got much less strained, but my calves got quite tired and quite strained, and I found that I needed to back off that transition, go more slowly, and just work more on the strength exercises. And I did that, and that actually worked really well. So with the excitement of learning something new about running, because there is simply so much to learn, if you try and dive in too quickly, just be aware that your body is sending you pain signals for a reason. So just yeah.
And also someone who tinkers like you research so well as well, which makes you a brilliant partner for podcasting, because it means I don't have to do as much. And you started thinking about treatments, and you talk about not bothering your doctor and doing it for yourself, which is another part of your character, which is impressive. Yeah. So what are the things about treatments that you can do for yourself that you found that are useful, apart from
I mean there's almost two parts to that. So there's educating yourself about your own body and the potential injuries that you can get, and there's also learning new things about your particular weaknesses and your particular aches and pains, because you are a sample size of one, as I think Paul said earlier. So you are unique in terms of your particular physiology, and you will get pains and other things that only that perhaps not so many people get. So when I have been researching injuries that I've had in the past, I've often found that they've been a result of weakness in some muscles, causing other muscles to overcompensate and become strained. So with this plantar fasciitis issue that I've got in the sole of my foot, I've just learned a load of stuff that I never knew about that, and I found that it could be a weak muscle in my calf that runs around the side. The perineal muscle runs around the outside of your calf. I didn't know that. And I've also learned that there could be some issues with my big toe muscles. I didn't know about that. And I've been looking at toe exercises and realizing that my toes are very inflexible for some reason. So these are all things where, I'm not suggesting that everyone starts to look at their toes because we're all different. But by doing the researching, you can find some very interesting things. Look at what's changed that might have caused your issue, back off the thing that's irritating your injury, perhaps start cross-training or doing something that isn't irritating the injury, and start learning about the treatment options you've got. And I think what you were starting to say there is that for minor and obvious issues, I like to have a go at treating myself, in as much as you might take an aspirin if you have a headache, So I'm not saying that I start to do root canal work on my teeth, but if you if you have minor simple stuff, that there are plenty of resources online that give lots of information about what to do about simple calf strains. So find a plan that looks good to you from a reputable source, and that's going to look like have some rest, take some anti-inflammatory tablets, do some recovery exercises, careful return to exercise, and stop doing the thing that caused the problem in the first place. So
This reminds me of the Tommy Cooper joke. You must have remembered the Tommy Cooper joke.
God.
Man goes to the doctor and goes, doctor, it hurts when I do this. And the doctor goes, well, stop doing it. And it's when Tommy Cooper does it. He just.
I've seen that one.
Hilarious.
I've heard that one. Yeah, it's a lovely one. Yeah, but that's funny because it's so true, and everyone goes, "Oh yeah." Well,
that's great comedy.
That's great comedy. Yeah.
What were these other things? Did you mention the lotions, potions?
Yeah, I mean, there's almost a whole show on lotions, potions, and massages. Not those ones from China, Oliver. The lotions and potions. So things like Voltarol 12-hour gel. The over-the-counter version. The strong version is. I think that's the most powerful anti-inflammatory sort of topical cream we have. I think available. That's pretty amazing to rub on aching muscles. Warming creams like Deep Heat feel good and encourage.
You love a cream or a lotion.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
So you're telling me
routine before a race? Oh my goodness me! The lotions, the potions.
I'm white. I'm just white. Complete. And stinking of cardamom, whatever they put in. So do you not use any lotions and potions and creams, or you do seem remarkably ache and pain free, Oliver? I mean, there must be.
Yeah, and I know it's luck. I use zero. I even run in my work socks, with shoes on top, so my feet get incredibly sweaty. And my wife laughs at me. I have a headscarf for avoiding sweat in my eyes, and that's it. But I'm waiting for when I need a bit more equipment.
Well, I think so I think that there is there's a tipping point when you start to do fast. Really, when you start tipping into the sort of beyond 6 minute kilometers into 5:30 and into 5:50, 5 minute. Yeah, that's when I noticed I was starting to get. I mean, I got some very early issues with my calves in the first year or so, but then nothing, and then as I sped up, and maybe didn't quite know what I was doing. And maybe wasn't warming up. So I don't know, because we're all samples of one. It's hard to know, but I think if you are as you are now becoming a well-trained runner, and you're increasing your distance and your speed gradually, then your body's getting the adaptation. So there's no reason necessarily that should happen for you.
I don't know. One fantastic thing happened over the weekend. I finally finished in the top half of a park run.
Better than average.
I was in the 48th percentile, and I couldn't believe it because everybody around me looked like they can run, and they can run, and I'm like, I was in the top half. I'm even running with some men, some other men I sometimes running with, and people under 70. It was very, very exciting. So anyway, you're right. I mean, I've got to be careful. Something will happen at some point, I'm sure, but I'm very, very gently increasing my distance for the 10K that we're doing in 2 weeks. But what about the ongoing stuff, the preventative, rather than curative?
So there is generally things about your gait and how you run. So before we say that, so in just to finish off the bit about treating yourself. So obviously, for serious issues or where your treatment attempts are not working, then that now is the time to seek professional help and go and see a sports physio or your GP. So don't keep bashing away with something which isn't working, and when things are getting worse. So that's obviously the place to stop treating yourself. And I was just going to say something about gait analysis, which is where you can go and have your running style looked at in a sports shop. And I've never done that, actually. I was thinking I might try that. Did you say you tried this, Oliver?
Yeah, I did. And I think I land on the outside of my feet. And the guy doing the gait analysis then said, so buy these shoes. And that sort of irritated me a little bit. So I went with your recommendation for shoe and haven't looked back. But yeah, I did it. It's really easy to do, actually. And it's quite interesting. You get a 3D sort of rendition of your foot, which I've found great. And I've got it on my hard disk somewhere. So yeah. I quite enjoyed the experience.
As we touched on with Paul a little bit, I mean, there's a lot of conflicting advice about gait, and Matt Fitzgerald in his 80-20 running book, which I'm now rereading just for interest, and he basically says don't mess around with your gait. Your gait is your gait, and it is what it is. Yeah. And then we have the whole 20 the Born to Run guys who are talking about a 4 foot running, and the Tarahumara Indians, and not running on your heels, and that causes trouble with your knees, and everything in between, and Shane Benzie with his the hidden art of ultra running, I think it's called. Yeah, so there's a huge range of conflicting advice. So I think you should do what works for you. But as far as I can, what makes sense to me is that we shouldn't be bouncing along on space hoppers with space hoppers attached to our feet, because we weren't designed to do that. You know, our bodies weren't designed to do that. So we should be running with fairly neutral shoes. I'm not saying barefoot, flip flops, but we should be running with fairly neutral protective shoes, and your body knows what to do. So if you put those shoes on and you start to run along bouncing on your heels, your body will say, well, that hurts. So your gait will adjust, not so that you're bouncing on your tiptoes, but you will just naturally transition to a slightly different gait. So if you're wearing neutral shoes, your body knows what to do. So I think, without getting too tied up with a gait analysis, and I'm not surprised that you had that experience. I have heard about that, and obviously, sports shops have gait analysis for a reason, because they like selling shoes. I'm not saying that what they're saying isn't true, but there may be a steering going on in a direction towards buying.
Well, it was
shoes.
a very blunt instrument as well.
Okay.
I mean, the kid was about 17, so fair play to the lad. He wasn't brilliantly trained, so it was just like, oh, you've got that kind of gait. We've got a shoe for you. I'm like, oh, really? I preferred your advice.
Yeah. And the latest advice I've heard is that running on the outside of your foot as you land is actually normal. But there we are. Let's not get.
I've heard it makes you more sexually potent,
promiscuous.
So, that's right. That's right. So I'm quite happy with it. But yeah, sorry. On to the ongoing prevention.
So I think the best thing to do is just to be strong and flexible as you can, and we've talked about doing a simple set of runners exercises that you can do at home, which can be core strength exercises with some knee and foot exercises built in. Just find something which doesn't take up too much time, so much time that it becomes something that you don't do. So it has to be easy enough so that you can fit it into your routine. And prepare yourself for exercise. So do a warm up and do a warm down. And the thing I do, which I got from one of the Born to Run books, which was to run on the spot and count 100 each time. And after I've done that twice with a short gap between, it's amazing the difference before and after. So when I first started doing that, everything's complaining. And then after the 199th step and a gap of 10 minutes, I feel ready to run. Just doing that.
Your body goes, this is uncomfortable, and you go, or your mind does, and you go, thank you, mind, I've got that signal. And then after a while it goes, oh, right, you're serious. You're actually going to do this. So I'll stop telling you it's uncomfortable, because that's pointless and annoying. It's I mean, Paul talked about this as well. Just getting that sort of
the mental side of
very
things.
hippie.
Actually, just a slight aside on that. Actually, I've just rereading Matt Fitzgerald's 80-20 running book, which is again one of the running bibles for the whole of the running movement, really. And he does talk a lot about the psychology of running and how you train your body physically, but you also train your body mentally, and your brain becomes tired if it isn't used to telling your muscles to run for more than a period of time. So if you're not used to running, and you start running 50 minutes and then you jump to 30 minutes, your brain isn't used to instructing your muscles to do the thing they are doing. So the more you do the longer distances, and each time you make a jump to a longer distance, your brain has to then adapt to instructing the muscles to do the thing they're doing for longer. So quite a lot of the tiredness that we feel is actually not physical. It's to do with your brain just getting fed up of forwards, backwards, up, down, up, down.
Right. So
it's an
definitely
amazing
the
thing.
advice there is run through that, and eventually you might.
Yeah. Again, I mean,
because you're not doing any damage to yourself at this point.
There are subtleties
it's
and
software.
Yeah, it's just, and it's a very difficult. It's like trying to describe the taste of chocolate. How do you describe it? The pain, but you need to know that there is normal pain, there's abnormal pain, and there's cramps, and so when there's that sort of the lethargy, the tiredness, the brain telling you that it's had enough, that's the sort of pain that you can run through. If you have a stabbing pain in your right calf, that's not the kind of thing you want to be running through.
Well, that's really helpful, because as I ramp up to the 10K, I'm getting the former pain. And I'm thinking, oh my God, is my body collapsing? And actually, no, it's my mind saying, oh, bollocks to this, I'm tired. But nothing else is hurting, my breathing's fine, so I'm going to keep going. I'll let you know how I get on, because I'm going to do my first 8K without stopping tomorrow.
Brilliant.
But we'll leave it there for now. You've just done a summary. I want to nick this line, because it's so great, if you don't mind me saying it. You said in the notes, your last line is, and I think this is a great way to end the show, the risk of injury should be no reason to not run or exercise. The risk of injury, obviously not if you're injured. The risk of injury should be no reason to not run or exercise. The risks of not exercising are far worse. And that's obvious, right? But it has to be said. So do not stop running because you think, oh, I might hurt myself.
Definitely.
And let's hope you don't hurt yourself. And remember, we're not doctors. This is not medical advice. This is just what we've learned. If you really are in pain or you have any doubts, go and see your GP. Andrew, a tour de force. What a wonderful episode. Paul was great, and some great stuff there.
Wonderful.
Thank you ever so much.
Wonderful as always. All right. See you.
Yep. See you next time. Bye-bye. Bye.